Yep.
All right, guys.
That or the zombie apocalypse is coming.
We're here from the Amsterdam bunker.
Yep. The office.
The office. So we're back
studio.
this week. You're probably seeing this one. Things hopefully are coming a little more rapid fire as we're trying to get things out to you.
I finally got my wish. Yeah, exactly.
Well, what happened is they quarantined all of the Netherlands for the most part, so we can't do anything.
Yeah, is at home.
But we got a car.
By the way, screw everybody, because that place in the morning where I get my oatmeal is still open because they offer to go.
Yeah.
So I can still get my stuff there. I can still go get my chai latte later. I'm going to have the keys to the gym, so I'll just go train by myself, which is usually what I do. So my life has not changed at all. Yes, there is my daughter at home.
At home all day, yep.
Yeah, that's a lot less interesting, but yeah. Anyway.
Well, she was in Utrecht, and I was like, if they call off school, I was like, I can't, not for 2 weeks or 3 weeks. I was like, go with your dad.
Yeah.
No, it was, but it was funny. Yesterday, Megan and I were walking around, and we go by, and there's a huge line at the weed store, and I had heard nothing of the sorts. And they had come out at like 5 p.m. They were like, everything's closed at 6.
By the way, that's Utrecht, because here I was at the coffee shop till 7.
Shit. So me and Megan, we're wandering around the streets, and everything's just closing. And I was like trying to find out what's going on, and then I was in a bit of a panic because I was like, oh, here I am, the one guy who didn't go load up on food. You know, I'm like, fuck. No, but the grocery stores are open.
And I think that coffee shop around the corner is open because they offer food to go.
Yeah.
So any place that often food to go is open.
Yeah. So we have no real places to go other than we can go train and come back. So we're gonna make some podcasts.
I don't go anywhere. So this is a funny part because I guess I'm socially isolated. That's what I discovered. Yeah. Because my life has not changed at all.
Not much.
I went to the same place to get my oatmeal. I'm going to go to the same gym to train by myself, and I'm going to go to a different coffee shop to get my chai latte to finish my reading. Yeah. And then tonight I'm going to cook my meat so. Yeah. Nothing has changed.
Yeah, and my problem here's my big issue with the whole thing. The big one. Fucking birthday.
Oh.
Nowhere to go. Nothing to do. So I'm going to throw like a guerrilla birthday party where I'm going to put like geo-locations. There's going to be like 10 locations over the course of like 30 minutes apart, where you can go there and stand 10 feet away from me and drink a beer, and then we'll bike to the next one.
No, but we might not have the same restriction as in Austria here.
No, this is here.
Yeah, I know, but that's why here.
But all the bars and stuff are closed. What I'm saying.
Well, that's
so it's like for my birthday.
Wait, because you used to do all the bars.
Well, as many as I.
There you go. Yeah. So yes, in that sense, yeah.
So my big move into the Netherlands birthday party is probably going to just be postponed.
Yeah, like everything else. Yeah,
but it'll be all right. But that's my pain. Let's talk about general pain.
Yes, exactly.
How's that for a segue?
Yes, that's a big one.
Julien was blowing me up yesterday. Started yesterday, right?
Yep.
Pretty much. This is how fast, by the way, the turnaround is.
Yes. We get to shoot right away. Not that he's here. That's a cool stuff.
And so yesterday I get this message from you and Travis Jewett.
Yep.
So we had gotten...
He's the one who sent it to me.
Yes, so that's who you had got it from. So I was getting it from both directions, and he even said the message he sent me this morning with it too was, well, good luck figuring this one out so fast, because he knew I think we were going to podcast today.
Well,
he was like, fuck, here you go.
I already did.
Not to you, to me.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I think he knows that you understand it.
Yeah.
But
for you, in one night,
Yeah, it's okay. I got enough to be talked to about it at least.
But so it's not a study, it's a paper that just came out.
Let me read the title first. This is a good... So there's a title, and I think you can Google search this via the title.
By the way, it was released like literally 11 days ago.
Yeah. It says, I believe, exactly 11 days. So have we looked the wrong direction for more than 100 years? Delayed onset muscle soreness is, in fact, neural microdamage rather than muscle damage.
Right. So I'll explain a bit what that means. But first, what's very interesting about this is we had the same issue with lactate, where we misunderstood lactate for 100 years. This is the same generation of scientists who did certain things and came to the exact wrong conclusion. Yeah. The main reason is so it's not necessarily a conspiracy theory there, but I'm going to explain that from a cultural perspective, right? The main reason we made those mistakes is because of a refusal to integrate the nervous system into all this. People have to understand that the nervous system is actually, or look into it, is actually very new. Like one of the first one, for example, who said something about storing trauma in the nervous system was William Reich. Reich. I still don't know how you say it. Reich.
I just figure if you, with the French accent, if you say it, it sounds
I get away
more
with
sophisticated.
Exactly, I get away with it.
Anyway, I say it, it's going to be like, I think that's
like
wrong.
Yeah. So William Reich is the first one. He talked about the vegetative state, which means nervous system in those terms back then. And he's one of the first one to really talk about the power laying into the nervous system. And he was a psychotherapy student of Freud. Then he went crazy into orgone energy, unfortunately. But some of his early work was fascinating in that aspect. But so there was a Cartesian way of looking at the body 100 years ago, like that deterministic way of looking at it, like I talk about all the time, where A causes B, and therefore everything is a chemical process. So they did that with lactate, like we just stuck the electrode into the frog's leg, it moves, builds lactate, therefore lactate is a byproduct.
Yeah.
And then they did the same thing with DOMS. So DOMS, what was the idea? So delayed onset muscle syndrome. By the way, in this study,
right?
Soreness. What they mean in this study is they're talking about soreness in general, not DOMS, because they associate DOMS with 8 hours to get the pain starting.
Their version of delayed is a little different than what you would hear within a gym.
Within 3 days or whatever. What they mean by DOMS, they mean as soreness.
Yeah.
Right. And so this is why is there pain in soreness? Why is soreness and pain are associated together? Can you be sore and not in pain? So because most people associate soreness with pain, right? Yeah. So where is that pain coming from? That's what they were talking about. And so 100 years ago, they have a very deterministic way of looking at it, which is buildup of lactic acid and damage to the muscle. The damage to the muscle is what causes pain, right? And so that study is offering the idea that actually the problem is not muscle damage to the muscle. It happens, by the way, and it will,
because muscle damage is
a real thing. Yeah. Oh, it's a real thing. There's no question. It's a little bit like lactate. It's like, because in the sense of lactate happens once you exercise, so that was true, except it's not a byproduct. So it is the same thing as that. They were saying that the muscle damage happens, but it enhances the pain. It does not create the pain. That is not what the thing actually happens.
Okay.
Right. So what they are saying is that it happens as a nervous system thing. That there's a compression on the nerves.
Spindle.
Yeah, I was like, well, do I go there or not? Is where I was going there. So there's a compression that happens. So there's a build-up, like there's a super compression. There's layers of compression that happen one on top of the next, mostly due to the eccentric factor. But actually what happens first is that, so it's a sympathetic reaction of the muscle. That's what causes pain. So after we're going to explain why it takes a night, when it takes a day or two to actually set in. But basically their entire idea was that the hard work, the eccentric work, causes a sympathetic reaction on the muscle, and then from there the soreness is going to come. Okay. Now there's certain processes we have to explain, because it goes back to nociception, which is actually part of the interoception that we've been talking about lately. So this actually groups a lot of the ideas that I've been talking about into one set, and on top of it, basically it's showing that I was right on a number of stuff that I said about mobility, nociception and everything, except now it gives me very fancy terms to use.
Yes. And we're going to get into some of the specifics of that as we go, but on
let's
mobility
go into the specifics
and all of that stuff.
Yeah, let's go mostly specifics, because that stuff I think most people are like,
yeah, we don't want to say too much into conceptual, because you can't do anything.
Right. So I want to be a little bit on the conceptual, and then we go straight into the practical. Right. So lately I've been talking to you about the gate control theory, right? So the gate control theory is about pain, which is something, because pain obviously in neuroscience, it's a huge thing. So I've been studying that for a while now. And I've been going at the gate control theory because it's the idea of the nociception. So people have been at the seminar, I talked about pain versus intensity for a long time, right? That you have two types of receptors, the nociceptors and the non-nociceptors, right? And so the idea, like first of all, we have the wrong idea with pain. Pain, we just think it's something that happens. Even in the brain, there's two different systems. You have the lateral system and you have the medial system. The lateral system is to tell you when and where. There's pain intensity and location. And the other one is how much it relates to cognition, to emotion, to like the emotional mapping, all that stuff. So those are two different networks of the brain. One is for location and intensity, and the other one is for relation to learning, cognition, all that stuff. Right, so that's why pain is never that simple. So sometimes they say nociceptors are pain receptors. That's not true. They are intensity receptors, not pain receptors, because you see people in battle that are completely cut open and won't feel anything until later. So it's not that simple. That's the first thing I would like people to understand out of all we're going to talk about today, is that our notion of pain is wrong. It was done 100 years ago by the same people. And they're wrong about pain as well. So they were wrong about lactate, they're wrong about soreness, and they're wrong about pain. So
I think it goes back to why in anything you're trying to do a noble pursuit, educational pursuit, informational pursuit, like science or really anything. And I learned back in my days of just diagnosing systems is that once you get to the certain point, you almost always have to stop and completely shed all assumptions that you've ever had for you to actually ever really. You can't just continue forever based on these foundations, because you're not going to get 100 things right in 100 years. And and then keep going.
Functional segregation versus functional
So at this
integration.
point, it does seem we get to some of this point. It's like, okay, well now we got to look back, because this thing we've always assumed
it's
that we're
not
building on is fucking us over.
So again, functional segregation versus functional integration. What they did back then was full functional segregation, which was necessary to a degree in order to study the stuff.
To do anything kind of at some point.
Yes, you need functional segregation, by the way, to be able to study something. The problem is you cannot base conclusions on segregation. You have to base your conclusion on functional integration. Once you've done functional integration, then you can make a conclusion. Unfortunately, they're making conclusion way too early in order to usually sell shit. Usually. So pain is more complex. So I'm going to try to make it only on the nociceptors, just from a physical part. I'm not going to go into the neuroscience of it. That can be another podcast. I'm just going to go on the physical part of it, right? So you have two types of fibers. You have the nociceptive fibers, which are the intensity sensing fibers, and you have the non-nociceptive fibers, the non-intensity fibers, right? So, and the gate control theory is basically saying that each of them has a capacity to flip the switch. The non-nociceptive fibers flip the switch of pain down. The nociceptive fibers can switch the pain up. Again, not that simple, because then I would have to go into neuroscience of the lateral versus medial system. But for now, let's just keep it at that. Again, it's about intensity, not pain. But let me do some segregation and put it down into those fibers, right? So two types of fibers, nociceptive fibers, non-nociceptive fibers. The gate control theory is simple. It's saying that you have the nociceptive fibers that is firing like you got stung. That fiber is firing like crazy. You have a sympathetic reaction, because that's going to come into play as well, right? And so what you do, you go like this. The reason you scratch is because you want to activate the non-nociceptive fibers, the non-intensity fibers, like delicate touch or something like that, right? Enough that you flip the switch of pain down. Because scratching doesn't do anything for the cut. No. Sometimes it's worse.
You're and you can't spread around.
Right, exactly. But you can't stop it. So the reason you're doing it is because that pain, not going to go into neuroscience, that pain starts to flash. And so what you do is you do a touch rough enough, right, to activate the non-nociceptive fibers to a degree, high as possible. If you go past too high, then you're going to fall into the nociceptive fibers, which make it worse. So that's why you go rough, but not too rough.
Well, scratch till you rip it open again.
Right. If you scratch too rough, it makes it worse, because now the nociceptive fibers are activated. Remember, it's an intensity. There's a line past which you go into nociceptive fibers. For example, when you put your hand in extreme hot or extreme cold, it feels the same, because cold and hot can be non-nociceptive fibers, where you go, ooh, warm, ooh, cold, and it gets too hard, you activate the nociceptive fibers, which is basically sending a signal to the brain to ask whether or not you should bring the pain to stop doing what you're doing. That's right. So that's the gate. So the gate control theory is that those fibers get to activate, one, tell the brain might be a chance for pain. Why? Because there might be a chance for damage.
So for the sake
That's
of
really
this
what this is.
oversimplification, it's truly going to be, for this demonstration, one on, the other off?
Exactly.
Right?
And on or off, why is there a chance of damage?
Okay.
If I do this softly, there's no chance, then I can feel. If I do this too hard, there's a chance of damage. I don't feel anymore. Now it's the ringing bell to the brain going, hey.
Okay.
Look at this. Right. So that's what the switch is on and off is there a chance of damage?
Okay.
Right. So that's the gate control theory, right? That's part of the gate control theory, but that's what we're going to stick with today. And so this study was going after saying, okay, so why pain in soreness? Right. If you look at the gate control, so that has to be between the nociceptive fibers and the non-nociceptive fibers. So what they were going after, they were saying like a very strainful or new exercise creates a damage on the muscle, but that's not the point. The point is that stretching, that eccentric, right? That stretches all the way to the nerve spindles and to all that stuff, will cause a signal, right, from the nociceptive fibers, a sympathetic reaction saying something is happening. And that something happening is the root cause of pain. So why don't you feel it at the beginning? Because there's an entire play between the nociceptors and the non-nociceptors playing, where after when you train and do all that stuff, you have actually first activated the non-nociceptive fibers.
The no pain.
The no pain, long enough, but when they switch off, then the pain starts. Okay. So the damage, actually, in a weird way, the soreness is already there.
It's happening before you feel it.
Exactly, right. So that means that the second you're done training, right, you have created the compression, you have already created the soreness. But the non-nociceptive fibers are still highly activated because of all the work that you've done, the flexing and all that shit. Yeah. And that's why you're not sore yet. Okay. Even though you're already sore, you're just not feeling it. And when those non-nociceptive fibers starts to go away, so you wake up the next day and you're like, oh my fucking God, because now you're getting the sympathetic reaction at that moment in that sense. And that's what that pain is just going like, oh, there was damage. Yeah. And so was there muscle damage? There always was muscle damage, but it's enhancing the role of the nervous system. It is not the creator of the pain. It is just there enhancing the message. So the more muscle damage, the more it communicates because it's a complex system, and then the worse the soreness. But it's not the creator of the pain. It never was, because the creator of the pain is always the nervous system.
And so really that's just a matter of which of the receptors is getting the...
Right.
You know, but
so
they're both
getting it.
Getting the attention.
Right. They're both getting it, right? Yeah. But at first, the non-nociceptive fiber win. Yeah. This is why in some workouts, you'll be also almost instantaneously. If you do like super eccentric work or stuff like that, you'll be sore the second you stop. Because there was never the pump, or there was never a high activation of the non-nociceptive fibers.
Enough of a sensation on the other side.
On the other side to block. Okay. So the stronger feeling will win.
Okay.
And so if you activate the non-nociceptive fibers, you will stop the pain. Yeah. That's going to come by the end of this conversation. This will be very, very important on a number of stuff.
Yeah. So where do we go with this?
Right. So applications.
Yeah.
Right.
So we know now that essentially you can have pain that's going to be there. Damage is done. The pain is there. It is there. Right. You're just not experiencing.
Right. So first of all, let's talk about soreness. So you're sore. Is it necessary? What to do with it? Let's start with that, and then we go in mobility into all that. Yeah. Right. So is it necessary? Okay. So that's a very important question. It seems that it is. Not from a muscle perspective, but from a nervous system perspective. It seems that soreness, that pain, is a signal to the nervous system that it needs to contribute to growth. Okay. So it would mean that if you were to stop the soreness, your nervous system would take it as it wasn't that bad. It would not create the change necessary. So it seems, I'm not 100% sure on this yet, but it seems that it is necessary.
It's like putting a spotlight on it. Just
work on this.
We know where that is.
Right. It seems that freak out is necessary for you to learn from it. Okay. And so muscle growth, in that sense, would require... So a lot of the stuff when they talk about eccentric, they say you don't need eccentric for muscle growth necessarily, which is true. I even said that. From a chemical perspective, that's true. Time under tension is enough. Mm-hmm. Time under tension is isometric. Isometric will create some of the damage, because you're isometric, at a stretch, it will create some of the damage just on the spindle, just like eccentric, just not as much. So it seems that the eccentric will create muscle growth more than isometric, more than just muscle under tension, but not necessarily from a muscle perspective. It seems that it's true from a nervous system perspective.
So it's more effective purely from the fact that you are required. Isn't that a greater sympathetic everything
exactly.
Eccentric?
Right. Because the eccentric creates more of a compartmentalization aspect on the nerves at the end of the muscle and everything. If people want to Google, they explain all that stuff better because they have images of the muscle and the spindle and all that stuff. He'll do a much better job than I will. Yeah. So it seems in that sense that soreness is important. Now, what could you do to take away soreness if you wanted to? Because that's very important. So what they were showing is the best way to do it then is to activate the non-nociceptive fibers. So you could do a massage, or you could do a mostly concentric workout, and also in order to promote a parasympathetic flow. Right? Because the pure nociceptive fibers will be a sympathetic reaction. The non-nociceptive fibers are more toward the parasympathetic reaction. Like if you've listened to us, you know exactly where I'm going with this. So that means that in order to take away the soreness, you would create a movement purely concentric toward a parasympathetic state, away from sympathetic, while trying to create, after that, there's also oxygen and nitric oxide, so that means nasal breathing. Yeah. So we're talking about, to take away soreness, a movement that is mostly concentric toward the parasympathetic while nasal breathing. Reminds you of something? The cyclical movement. Yeah. So cyclical movement would take away soreness and pain. I was like, I've been doing this shit I have a video that has to be at least a year and a half or 2 years ago where I put Casper through a cyclical workout and he said, I don't feel pain anywhere in my shoulders. I feel awesome and all that stuff. I've been doing that shit for a long time. I even basically been saying at seminar, like I had a workout that can take soreness completely away. I know because I've done it. I was starting with external torque and then I would finish with internal torque on the exact same muscles. You don't know how I figured that out? That was a kind of a cool story. So
I feel like it hurt. Probably.
Well, actually, no, that's the weird part. It didn't.
You either got real lucky or I would say it sounded like it probably hurt 50 times before you got that one right.
One time, really bad. So I'm in Paris where we were there for a week. And there's only a Global Gym, so because welcome to Paris. I mean, I'm so pissed, but I'm there, and I do a workout mostly in external torque, right? And I finish, and I'm so fucked up. Like for 2 days, I'm like dumb. So 2 days, but like almost right away going, oh, it gets worse, and I'm like, wow, and I'm like, That's at the time where I was going at soreness a lot, going like, I don't understand where it's coming from because I knew it wasn't just muscle damage. It couldn't be. That makes no sense because otherwise, it makes no sense. I was like, no. So I'm starting to go. So what I do is I did the same workout 3-4 days later, same thing in external torque, right? But this time I'm finished. I'm going to do the same. And then at the end, I'm like, let me try something. I'm going to do the exact same workout I just did, but in internal torque. I was doing, I think it was either pecs and biceps or some shit like that, right? I'm going to do the same movements, but now this time in internal torque. I wake up the next morning, zero pain, like I haven't trained. And I'm like, that is so weird because technically I've done twice the work.
Yeah.
And I have zero pain. I'm like, that's weird. Let me go to the gym again. I do the same workout. Pec and biceps, again, or whatever the fuck it was. Yeah. IT, wake up the next morning, zero pain like I haven't trained. I go to the gym, I do it again. I did it 3 times in a row. Zero pain like I haven't trained. I was like, this is so weird. I stopped because I'm like, I'm going to hurt myself. Yeah. There's no fucking way. But I had zero pain because I'd finished everything in cyclical work. So I did acyclical first. And then cyclical, yes, when I was doing a lot of work on
how you finish, just kind of like how you walk.
If you finish the same muscles in internal torque, it was taking the soreness away because that's exactly what it would do. Is that basically I would activate the nociceptors, right? Taking the entire sympathetic reaction away.
Okay.
The non-nociceptors taking the entire sympathetic. So the question is, do I get muscle growth out of it or not? From a nervous system, I think no.
Okay.
Now.
So doing that alone for its own sake might be better for helping you with your soreness, right? If you will.
Could be that.
Get about your day, whatever. Also may be able to help you do just more overall work.
Right. So an Olympic weightlifter, right, who wants to do more work but does not need the muscle growth, I would definitely work the same muscle in internal torque at the end. Yeah. So the cyclical work would take away the soreness so that they would increase the capacity for work.
And as far as you can see, we're speculating here, I think, but as far as you can see, So the benefits of doing that are going to be, or the trade-offs, right? So you're going to trade off, you're going to finish with cyclical work like that. The trade-offs going to be, you're going to get better, like not as much soreness. You're going to kind of kill that off. But you're going to maybe compromise growth of some muscle.
Some muscle. So that's the problem.
Or at least damper it a little bit.
Right. No, you will. You will. But my guess is no, you will. I think you will. So I was always on the fence whether or not. I never knew for sure. Reading that study tells me that you will.
Okay.
But there are other ways to create, like we'll talk about maybe at the end, but because then we have to go into osteocalcin and the role of bones into all this, because then now that becomes also a big part of all this.
Now, without expanding into that part, just from this alone, if I wanted to, if gaining muscle size was what I wanted, would I want to then be doing as little cyclical work as possible?
Technically, so what I would do is I would do a lot of work
to grow muscle. To
purely grow muscle, it'd be eccentric.
Soreness.
It's just
probably
so that means that
the sympathetic state.
Right. So that means like I would still start with the flow like I do, but then I would do sympathetic state with a lot of eccentric.
Okay.
Fuck myself up and stop right there.
Okay.
And the second I'm done. Okay. Don't cool down. Maybe cool down just a bit to get your mind, and then go. The stress level is going to be high.
Yeah.
But technically, it should promote more.
Okay. You're
going to pay for it.
Accidentally described pretty much kind of how I trained for quite a long time there.
Yeah.
Worked, but
that's what you asked.
Exactly.
Okay, you asked for muscle growth.
I want muscle.
You want muscle? Okay, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to stress the fuck out of you and then make you walk away so your nervous system has to learn.
So for weight class athletes, though, this is one way to make...
There's not just that, by the way, because now we have to explain that anxiety. There's a number of things. Yeah. So that's the problem, right? Is you can never be too imbalanced. Okay. So you can finish the workout like that, but at some point you're going to have to go do Disney December. You're going to have to go do a number of things. Otherwise, you're going to crash mentally. Yeah. You will not keep yourself in going to the gym while every single time you finish on such a sympathetic response.
Yeah, it'll
get to you.
Rip the steering wheel off of your fucking Nissan today trying to park in Amsterdam just because there's no fucking parking.
Right.
Just
so the sympathetic fixes are going to go up, but that also means you're going to start relying on coffee, carbs. Yeah. Drugs are coming because you need to increase the sympathetic response and more because that shit just keeps going up. Yeah. And remember, you're going to go to our nociceptor, so that means you're going to higher sympathetic. That means also like in muscular imbalances are going to start popping up. You're going to take more and more risks in your training, so the risk ratio starts to eventually you'll get hurt and you'll crash. So there has to be a way to mix this correctly.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a way, because I know there is a way, but that's why the template, and that's why the one-on-ones that I'm doing, because there is a way to do both, because then the carries matter a lot, because the carries are still, because of osteocalcin, going to allow you to create that, what they call ARS, which is the stress, the acute stress response, ASR, sorry. Yep. Through putting weight on your structure because of the bone response, because the bone response through osteocalcin seems to be as important as the rest. We can't talk about muscle growth without talking about bone growth, for example. Yeah. Like if they were talking about that, even the study is saying like the two are related.
Yeah.
So that means that you want more muscle, you need thicker bones.
Mm-hmm. Doesn't it seem to make sense too?
Right. Right, so that's the problem too, is again, we're back to that deterministic, that functional segregation of we're just going to do muscles. Soft tissue, muscle, bone, they're all related. Yeah. So the best way to gain muscle is to do heavy carries and then fucked up sympathetic work.
Yeah.
And by the way, the eccentric and then all the ET stuff is going to be very important. So heavy work with heavy load of eccentric, but also the carries are going to be the best way to build. And what do you see? You see strongmen.
Yeah. Also because you can't do like, what's the word I'm looking for? You can't do like all this like external torque work anyways, like all this super high sympathetic stuff without getting to a ceiling anyways of kind of what you can just manage anyways. So if we go to all this, the nice thing is introduce a certain amount of cyclical work to finish with just enough to make sure that you are to go back into the gym.
Right, but make sure also therefore assistance work to make sure you're balanced and everything. By the way, simple practical application on deadlift. Yeah. Don't drop the bar.
Yeah.
Lower the bar fairly slowly to the ground when you do your deadlifts. You will increase muscle growth on that alone.
Yeah.
It's shit like that, I mean, that matters so much. which was, if you remember, the part of cyclical was ET on the way down. ET eccentric. That's going to force muscle growth. So there's something there that is very interesting. But I think some soreness seems to be required. Yeah.
Do we want to go into mobility, foam rolling?
We can go. What do you want to do? Mobility first, then?
Yeah, let's do
right. So
first.
if we take, it doesn't say that in the study, but if we look at the non-nociceptive fibers and the nociceptive fibers, what does that mean for mobility? That means that, for example, that your mobility, right, where you stop, let's say I engage my pec and then I stop here, is decided by the nervous system, not by your muscle or stuff like that. That's what we saw on frozen shoulder. People can't raise their arm, but under sedation, the arm goes completely up because it's a nervous system that decides how far you're going to take a muscle. How does it decide how far? Because nociceptive, the gate control theory, past this right here, if I go past this, I'm going to basically start to force it to the point where I'm going from the non-nociceptive fibers to a nociceptive fibers, which basically at that point I understand that I start switching and your body's like, and then here comes here comes the pain that goes toward not location and intensity, but toward the middle part, which is more like, what is it that I'm doing? The cognition part comes in, right? So that cognition and mobility go hand in hand in that sense. It's the body going like, if I go past that, there is a risk that I cannot create the tension necessary for the movement. And so I won't, because now there's a chance of hurting myself. So snatch, I can maintain tension here at that weight, because 60 kilo, I can go here. 80 kilo, not me, but some of you, 80 kilo are stuck here, right? If I go there, I don't have, let's say, the strength in the pecs to maintain the weight overhead. So that means, how do I know that? Because after trying and hurting myself, I know. And so there's a cognition part of pain that says you can't do that. So therefore, the second I go past a certain moment, like here comes the non-nociceptive fibers, are like, that's as far as I go. Because that's as far as I can maintain tension. Right. And so that's your range of motion under that tension. Your mobility is that. Now, could I go past that? Well, yeah, all I would have to do is to switch the non-nociceptive fibers off. Right? How would I do that? By switching the nociceptive fibers on. So how would I do that? By creating a point of pain in the area where I keep hurting myself, therefore switching off the non-nociceptive. And now basically, by having that hyperactivity of both, the pain will stop, because first of all, I've created I've basically done the same thing as soreness.
Create enough pain, it removes the tension.
Right, but remember at first soreness is there, but you don't feel it. That's what I'm doing with the foam rolling. I am creating a hyperactivity on the non-nociceptive fibers and the nociceptive fibers, which means the non-nociceptive fibers switch off the nociceptive fibers, which means what I've done is I switched off the capacity of my brain to say, don't do that. And so now I can go as far as I want. Because what I've done is I basically, by using that, the lacrosse ball or whatever, I've taken control of the gate. I've allowed myself to switch the gate to off, therefore taking the protection away. But the problem is
that protective tension, which is the reason you can't get there.
Right.
It's like, now I'm going to introduce a bunch of pain, turn it off, and then fucking...
So in a weird way, it's by introducing the pain that I turn it off, because the pain that I'm introducing is not that high. It's not as high as the injury. So what I've done is I almost got used to that. So by bringing the non-nociceptive fibers high enough so that it's painful but not that painful, because you get used to it, I've allowed the nociceptive fibers to switch off, and therefore the pain goes away.
Which will then allow you to do the same movement if improper tension in a range of motion that you don't have earned, because you
never earned it. Right, exactly. So it plays off the gate control.
So it's only going to get worse than at that point, right?
Well, you're going to hurt yourself.
So I'm going to do this. I'm going to get by that session. I'm going to say, fuck, I could snatch today. Great.
But the next day,
shit was a little
the
rough,
next day you're like,
snatch.
ow. And so what do you do? So you'll notice, like, people at first they do 5 minutes and it hurts a lot, and then within 3 days they go, I can go 5 minutes, but it hurts less. So then I press a little bit more and press a little bit more. What they're doing is they're just constantly pushing that line further and further of the non-nociceptive fibers, being able to switch off the nociceptive fibers. Because remember, nociceptive fibers, when you go too far, they're there to go, oh fuck. right? And then they start squeezing, and then they go, because it's a protective mechanism, because it's so heavy, they go. So it's a full sympathetic mode, right? And of course, full sympathetic means, by the way, using the traps and all that shit. So you're going into a full sympathetic mode by allowing yourself to go into a range of motion that could potentially be dangerous for you. So you're freaking out.
Yeah.
Which obviously, because now you're at risk. So what you're doing is every day, by foam rolling the same area, and by the way, the next day is sore as shit, right? Yeah. So you're having a sympathetic reaction. It's your body saying, okay, we did that, give me time to grow.
To adapt, yeah.
To adapt and to grow. And you go, no, because I need to work on I need to max out my snatch every day. It's like, fine. So what do? I activate.
Turn this shit
right,
off.
So at first I do this. Yeah. What do is I activate the non-nociceptive fibers, but activate a little bit, it doesn't turn off the nociceptive fibers yet. So I do harder and harder. Not too hard, but hard enough, just hard enough to shut off the nociceptive fibers. And if 5 minutes doesn't work, what do? I do it for 10 minutes. I do it for 5. And then that's why you have people at first that did a little bit for 5 minutes, now end up needing to foam roll and do the lacrosse ball for 40 minutes of pain in order to be able to train.
I don't know if we've said this on the podcast yet, but there's a question you ask often when we get into this stuff with the seminar, where you'll ask people, for those of you, how much time do you need to spend stretching, warming up and stuff like that to snatch, to go overhead? 5 minutes, and a few people raise their hand, and 10 minutes, a few, 15, it's a few,
20 30
like 30 minutes is
30,
probably,
minutes.
What do you suppose? 30 to 40 is more than half of the people.
Oh yeah.
With it, and
at this stage, yeah.
Yeah.
But by the way, this isn't warming up, because of foam rolling and lacrosse ball, you're not warming up.
No,
the muscle haven't done shit.
Yeah.
All you do, but
then you have to warm up.
Yeah, then you have to warm up, because you haven't warmed up. But I ask that question to people, is like, do you think it's normal that you need 40 minutes of pain in order to be able to work out?
Especially to do something that's supposed to be good for you.
But like, so it's pain, but it's not that much pain. That's why they say, oh, I'm fine, I can take it. Exactly. So you're almost at the pain threshold, but right under. You're doing just enough to shut off the muscle that you need. Mm-hmm. So to shut off, in that sense, the nociceptive fibers. So you're fucking up with the functioning of your muscles by doing that for 30, 40 minutes. And that's why you can snatch every day. First of all, you never have the chance to grow the muscle, and that's why you're not getting better. Like, it's always a problem. And on top of it, like, you are going further and further away in that sense, in a pain cave from a nervous system perspective, even though you're not feeling it. You're not feeling it because you found a trick.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean the problem isn't there. Imagine if I have a barometer, right? Barometer is starting to drop. It tells me the storm is coming, right? Okay, cool. So the barometer starts dropping. That means the storm is coming, but I don't want it to be a storm. I want it to be sunny. So what do? I fix the barometer so it stops dropping. Right.
It's about the same thing.
That's exactly what you're doing.
Yeah.
Right. So eventually the storm is coming, and then, and now you're really hurt.
Yeah. Actually, in this case, like, the storm will come way more frequently and way more intensely, way more often.
Right. On top of it. Yes. Exactly.
Fuck.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like
at least there is some sort of connection back
right.
to
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're daring the storm. You're daring the storm not to come.
I've been in this. I feel for the average person. The mobility discussion is always one that I had a tough time communicating to people in a gym, because I had my understanding of it.
Yeah.
That was
stretch.
No, that was before. Once I got past that, the problem was I didn't understand how to tell that to people very well, and if you don't have someone's trust fully, it's tough to be like, I don't know, man, I think that stuff's kind of bullshit. You've been doing it for 4 years, and all you keep needing is more of it, and your shit still hurts. And it's a tough sell, because I think on the ground, for the average fitness person, there's way more to be sold, I guess.
With a trick. But the main issue that people need to understand is that mobility is earned.
Yes.
That's the bottom line. Yeah. The reason you can't put your arm overhead is because you're not there yet. Yeah. That's okay. Well, but I think, by the way, talking about the general person, I think one of the major issues that we have is that they think there's something wrong with them. No, you're just not there yet. Yeah. You haven't done the work. Yeah. You have not earned it yet.
And there's a couple ways I've always tried to explain, was that, like, one was like, it's kind of like real estate, right? If I want to buy a house with a big lawn, great. Now I gotta fucking look after it. I gotta mow it. I gotta mow the fucking grass. I gotta trim the bushes. You get the, and you're like, that's what having an extended range of motion is.
Go first.
You're responsible for it.
Yeah.
You have to have the ability to look after it, the ability to build through. Much like driving a fast car. You don't put a 15-year-old in a fucking brand new Ferrari.
But you have to learn to drive it.
Teach them how
By
to
the way,
drive.
Gasoline is different. You have to learn to drive it. The brakes are...
But at some point, they'll gradually learn how to drive 80 miles an hour and 100. But you don't let some teenager put the pedal down to 140 mile an hour.
And that's not even the speed. That's not even the speed that's killing, it's the brakes.
Yeah.
Learning to brake on the Ferrari.
And this is actually, mobility is much more like the brakes. It's really
exactly. It's about the brakes. Yeah, it's exactly about the brakes. And imagine giving a Ferrari to a 15-year-old and taking the brakes off.
Yeah.
And go like, I hope everything goes well.
Just hope you drive slow enough to see it.
Right. So either you drive slow enough, right, which means you snatch a PVC pipe or an empty barbell and you're fine. But who wants to be given a Ferrari and drive at 20 miles an hour?
Exactly.
Not a 15-year-old.
Yeah.
Right. So the 15-year-old will go 200 and kill himself.
And I think it is easy. That's a thing too, is with some of these the solutions, right? The trick, a solution that can get you back. It's so hard. If you come to me and you say, Tyler, my shoulder's a little fucked up. We got to press today. And if all I know is that you just mash on this and pull on this, you can snatch.
But that's so there's two things that I see when people do that, right? I see a deterministic view of the world, which is all there is a problem is the muscle itself. It's not the nervous system, it's the muscle. So all I got to do is flush the muscle, which is true. If that were true, then that would be a good solution.
Yeah.
Because if the problem was just accumulation of lactic acid, muscle damage, I'd be you do massage, get blood flow, flushes the stuff away, you're done. Yeah. Then that would be true. The problem is that's not the case.
More to it than that.
And the second aspect that I see, me personally, that's not a fact, that's my opinion, is I see an attempt at control. I see an attempt at making the world something you can control. The number of people that I've seen from rolling, because really what they're saying is, my body will do what I want. It's over mentalization, right? But those are the same people that, going back to interoception, that have no connection to their body. Those are the same people I say, what do you want? They can never answer me. Those are the people when I say, okay, send me a video of you doing pull-ups to see if I can tell you traps for free. And then they don't send me the video. Those are the same people that I see that need control, that need a quick fix, that need to be able to impose their will to their body. That's what I see.
You've never seen me foam roll, have you? It is the very opposite happening. If I'm foam rolling, it is the foam roller telling me all the things that it hates about me.
That's why you don't do it.
I am foam rolling going, oh my fucking God.
Everything,
But no, I did used to do it actually quite a bit because it could keep me moving. I just felt like I could get me back.
Right, but okay, keeps you moving the wrong way.
Yeah. But
I get to you and you can't carry 100-pound sandbag for 15 meters.
Exactly.
So keep you moving. This is, by the way, this is...
Up and down.
Yeah, but this is
bottom to top.
But that's not a CrossFit problem. This is a societal problem. Where again, it's I will control my body. I want to do something for the next 5 minutes, and my body is not allowed to tell me no. That's what you see. So it keeps you moving. Yeah, because you want a training session, regardless of what the training session is doing to you. Then what are you training for? What do you want? Do you want to get better? Because better will require rest, by the way.
Yeah.
Better will require balancing you. Better will require internal torque versus external torque.
And you're going to have to move within the pace with which you're allowed to.
And getting better also means that you're going to have to earn shit.
Yeah.
So what I hear is, I don't want to earn this. I want it given to me. So I want a trick because I don't want to do the work. That's the attempt of your mind trying to control your body, because your mind is... I want things now. That's the diva brain I talk about all the time, right? That's from the selfish brain theory. That's your diva brain saying like, bitch, do what I want now.
Yeah.
Like your body is your servant that has one job to give you what you want the second you want it. That's a diva brain. So that's what I see with the foam rolling. I see as you lashing, whipping with an actual whip, the servant into him doing what you want when you want. That's how you train. Whoosh, the servant is with a whip. And then when he gives you what you want, you don't whip it out.
Yeah.
Like you only foam roll for 40 minutes when it fucking hurts. Otherwise, you go straight into the bar.
Exactly. Yep.
Right. So you're basically punishing your body for not giving you what you want.
Acting right. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. This is what I see. Yeah. Right. And that's why I was really worried about people putting themselves through 40 minutes of pain in order to train. At the end, I was like, this has nothing to do with the body. Or in that sense, it's about punishing the body, has nothing to do about range of motion or anything like that. They just want the body to do as they wish. But by the way, this is a deterministic view of looking at the body, which I think, and obviously I'm not the only one, is wrong. It goes down to the nervous system. And so there's a number of things that come from there, mobility being a big one.
Yeah.
There was a few things on that.
Yeah, you want to pop to the...
Right, because there was a few things. I know I didn't cover everything because they came with a conclusion that they went from A to N. If you can just...
Yep, we got them right here. Do you want me to read them off?
Yes, so I can explain.
This is a skill I got. It's a weird skill. I can just read shit, big words.
Exactly, I like it.
So the first one here, let's go to this. You want me to read the overall conclusion first, the overarching?
Yeah, so I want to explain because I think it's something people need to read. Yeah. So I need to explain a little bit what they mean with all the stuff.
According to their hypothesis, DOMS is an acute compression axonopathy of the nerve terminals in the muscle spindle caused by the repetitive superposition of compression with a coinciding cognitive demand coupled with possible micro-injury to the surrounding tissues and enhanced by immune-mediated inflammation.
Yes. Right, so let me explain that simply.
Yep.
What it means is soreness is an acute compression axonopathy of the nerve terminals in the muscle spindle. So that basically it's a compression of the nerve endings in the muscle caused by repetitive superposition of compression with a coinciding cognitive demand. That means, what they mean by that is repetitive movement of a movement that your body tells you to stop, but mentally you go, let's keep going. Mm-hmm. When you push past fatigue, if you want. That's what they mean. Coupled with a possible microinjury of the surrounding tissue, coupled with the actual muscle trauma, because you're actually tearing the muscle fibers, right? So coupled with that, and enhanced by immune-mediated inflammation. Yeah, that's a sympathetic reaction that you get once, like when you cut, like the area becomes red and inflamed.
Yeah.
Right, that's a sympathetic reaction. That's what they mean at the end is that. It means that the sympathetic reaction creates an inflammation of the entire area. So what they mean is, when you have like super soreness, what they mean by DOMS is like the big ass soreness. What you get? You get an inflamed muscle, right? You get a muscle that does not have a good range of motion, right? Because it is stopped, which tells you the whole stuff about mobility, and swollen. So it holds water, right? And sensitive to the touch. That's what that means.
Okay. So the cornerstones of this hypothesis is as followed.
Right.
I want to make sure I didn't miss anything. Okay. First, DOMS could be an acute compression axonopathy of the nerve endings in the muscle spindle.
Yeah, so that's what it is.
Cause of DOMS could be the repetitive superposition of compression under cognitive demand.
Right.
And as a result, a resultant metabolic insult.
Right. So yes, I love that. It's a metabolic insult. That's a dope sentence. What they mean by that is cognitive means basically your mind forces your body to push past the point of fatigue, and that creates a metabolic insult to the body. That is a great...
Which is the name
I'm going to steal that.
This is the name of my new metal band, is Metabolic Insult.
Metabolic insult. That is, I'm stealing that. I'm going to use that in seminar. This is such a good term. I love that.
It really is.
And that's what they mean by metabolic insult. It means you push past the point of fatigue.
And cognitive demand, that is really...
That's your mind
awareness to push. And that's the thing that we go back to...
Other questions.
Now, this is about soreness in its own thing, but we talk about soreness required for growth.
This is about growth.
This is about growth. So
yeah.
When we're talking about this as in soreness, we're talking about for growth. So for growth, what I'm seeing from these first couple things here is that it has to hurt, you have to push, and you have to be there for it to work. And if you're wondering why you can't get fucking bigger, and you're fucking spending a lot of fluffy time not experiencing discomfort in your muscle.
Right. And by the way, what does that tell you? Like, like when you focus, because people, they do curls like this. And if you look on the eccentric, they're all letting the body take the weight and the trap. And, they're all doing this. They experience no eccentric and then they go concentric. You know why they go concentric? Because we're going to talk about that for neuropathy. It allows you to go toward pure flow. Yeah. It doesn't
takes the pain away.
It takes the pain away. So it feels good. Guess what? If you want to grow, it can't feel good all the time.
Yeah.
That's what this says. And so, but that goes back to something we've been saying so many times. It's like, it has to hurt, but the repetition has to hurt a bit, but not hurt as in like my elbow hurts, as in that muscle is got to fucking burn. You got to feel the burn. But this is what we saw on Disney December on the cyclical work. It's everybody on nasal breathing. Everybody loved it because they allowed them to pace. Yeah. They allowed them not to hurt, which was never the point of it. Yeah. There was supposed to be two sides of it.
Supposed to be hurt so fucking bad that this might be the only way you get back up.
Right, exactly. So there has to be Disney December and there has to be nasal breathing and all that stuff. But that means that on the other side, there has to be fucking pain. You can't have parasympathetic work without sympathetic work.
Yeah.
For growth, you're going to need the sympathetic work. But now you're going to have to balance it with parasympathetic so you don't crash. Yeah. Otherwise, you won't grow. Yeah. So you need both sides of the arch, which I've been trying to tell people for the longest fucking time.
Otherwise, you're just being way too metabolically insulting.
Yes.
Fucking fantastic.
That's CrossFitters. You guys are metabolically insulting. Oh, that is such a good term.
We want to go through, I think these are repetitive though here. F is the one I'm looking at as the next.
From the muscle spindle, the fluid cavity in the muscle spindle could play, whatever. Mitochondrial electron transport chain generated free radicals involvement is suspected with a TAD-like lesion of the acute axonopathy of the sensory nerve endings in DOMS. Yes, well, that's the same shit. Yes, it's the same. Yeah, so, go to F.
So if we have unaccustomed or strenuous exercise, eccentric exercise, induced NSS sympathetic nervous system activity could be an essential underlining factor in initiation. So things you're not used to, things that are hard as fuck, eccentric exercise induced sympathetic nervous system activity
and there's a fight
is
and flight.
Essential for the initiation of DOMS.
What it means is that for growth, you need to go into fight mode.
Yeah.
You don't get to not push.
And that DOMS can be initiated earlier than it is experienced. But at the beginning is suppressed.
Exactly. Right. So that's extremely important. What it means is that in a way, the soreness is already there the second you're done training, but you're not feeling it yet.
Because of what you described. You have an overwhelming sensation from the other side of it.
Right. So it's an entire thing because of the gate control theory. And so, for example, a good pump, right, will allow you to push harder.
Yeah.
Because the pain will stop you. By the way, if we're going to go in... Like in the last podcast, we talked about the SLL and the LLL pain tolerance. That's going to come to that as well. So that means that there's probably something between the non-nociceptive fibers and nociceptive fibers, whether you're S or LLL of the 5-HTT-LPR, because that means that once the nociceptive fiber starts screaming, an SLL has to back off. So it means it needs to go a little bit more toward the non-nociceptive fiber, so a longer pump.
Spend a little bit of time before going off the edge.
Right, so exactly, stuff like, so maybe that's where bodybuilders and strongmen do better than powerlifters. There's an entire rabbit hole there that is fascinating.
And some of that, a lot of the stuff you kind of still want to put together too, right? I mean, those are things you haven't quite fleshed out either.
There's the stuff where exercise-induced SNS activity could be an essential factor in DOMS initiation. Yeah, so DOMS initiation, which means not feeling the pain, just starting the fucked up muscle. The compression of the muscle spindle.
So we have here...
No, so a lot of that stuff I knew. I just didn't know the scientific background for it. Like they're going to talk about neuropathy. I know that because I know what cyclical work does, because I've tried on people that had serious nerve issues or neuropathy, stuff like that. And I know I stopped the pain by doing it. I've done that with people with back pain where, because sometimes mine is still does things, right? So what I do is I walk, but I walk in a cyclical movement with my feet, so proprioception. So which means I put the outside of my feet down and then I go toward the inside of the foot and I walk like this. It makes me walk like I have soul. Like I'm a black dude. I mean, like, So my hips start moving a certain way. When I do that and I create barefoot, a lot of proprioception toward external torque to internal torque toward the inside of the foot, within 10 seconds, back pain starts to go away. And I've done that again. I've done that with shoulder pain with the push-ups. Remember the push-ups in cyclical? You start with the outside of the hand, you go back to the inside of the hand. I've stopped shoulder pain almost like that just by doing that. Now, it comes back because the problem is still there, but I can stop the pain. And that's exact, but I couldn't, at the time, I couldn't tell you why. And I knew the breathing made it worse and then made it better. The nasal breathing made it better. Why? Because nitric oxide, exactly like they talked about into this. So they have given me the reason why the stuff that I knew works.
Yeah. So the next here, delayed onset of soreness could be a result of the hypoalgesic state of the closed gate, caused by the enhanced firing of the micro-injured type 1A
That's
sensory.
what I said.
Yep.
That's what I said. Yeah.
Crosstalk on the PGE2 level between the pain pathways. I don't know what that means.
Yeah, those are, but I have to go into neuroscience into that one. Yeah.
Skip it. You guys don't need that one.
Yeah.
We've got here.
No, you're going to hyper excited.
Okay, so hyperexcited micro-injured type 2 sensory fibers in the muscle spindle could override, with the possible help of sympathetic nervous system, the conduction velocity reducing micro-injured type 1A sensory fibers inhibition with delayed onset. The result will be an open gate in the dorsal horn of the pathway to hyperalgesia in DOMS.
Right. So what they're saying is, the 2 is the nociceptive fibers. When the nociceptive fibers get to a certain point, they shut off the non-nociceptive fibers and they create hyperalgesia, which is, so analgesia is the numbing of pain, analgetic, right? It's numbing. Hyperalgesia is higher levels of pain. So, sometimes you go, oh my God, I'm so fucking sore. And how come I'm more sore? And, you sit up suddenly and then you go up and you go like, oh my God, even too much.
You talked to Megan the last 2 days.
Yeah, exactly.
That's pretty much what I've been saying.
Right. So that's what they call by hyperalgesia, is that the nociceptive fibers are switching the gate to on, and so they create hyperalgesia. So it's if I go like this it's not that bad, and yet when you move it, it's 20 times worse. If I touch my hammies, they're sore, but yet moving them hurts 20 times more. The reason this happens, and that's what they call hyperalgesia, is to stop you from moving.
Stop you from doing it.
Now you need time to grow, to back off and grow. So if you touch it by hand, it's not that bad. The moving hurts.
Just enough to know that you're there.
Right.
It's almost like regular.
So you touch it and you
pain.
go like, the muscle is like, yeah. But moving it hurts so much. Yeah. That's the nociceptive fibers saying, stop.
You're doing really good considering your French accent and everything.
I think I'm nailing that one.
I've done a lot of today. So
because I've been
better you
doing
than
that
me.
shit for so long. Then
so we've got we did hyperexcited, that one.
Hyperexcitability.
Keeping a closed gate.
Keeping a closed gate with concentric. Oh yeah. Read that one.
All right, so keeping a closed gate with concentric exercise could have importance in non-pharmacological disease and neuropathic pain management by simultaneously alleviating pain and enjoying the positive anti-inflammatory characteristics of exercise.
Right.
Therefore, we call it a closed gate exercise.
So closed gate versus open gate exercise is cyclical versus acyclical.
Yeah.
That's the shit I've been doing. So what they're saying is that the concentric nature of the closed gate, the cyclical movement, will help you get the reduction of inflammation, basically promotes the parasympathetic nervous system, which will reduce the inflammation. So he has parasympathetic as an anti-inflammatory reaction and quality. And it will allow you to shut off the pain because it will just allow you to go toward the non-nociceptive fibers. So that cyclical work, especially with the nasal breathing, is the best way to go at neuropathic pain.
Well,
I've been trying to say that shit for fucking so long now. So that's why I love this, because I'm like, thank you. And now I can say it in a very sciencey way.
Yeah.
So I sound less like it's black magic.
It's tough to say too, like, well, it's just because I know. I don't know.
Like some people, they masturbate to, that's what I masturbate to. It's moments like this. No, because everybody thinks it's dark magic. Yeah. It's like the stuff saying I can take soreness away. People are like, bullshit. Yeah. I do it and they go, they go, why are you weird? I'm like, I'm not weird. I just know it works. Like I had some physio storming out of Coach's Week saying, fuck you. Because they were like, that's not. I was like, but it is possible. It's just a nervous system thing. But again, I always sound like it's dark magic. It is not dark magic. I knew how to do it. I just couldn't explain it to you.
Yeah, you could actually probably sell it more if you just pitched it as magic. To be honest with you,
I think so. Yeah. I think if I said I have powers and I turn into a guru, people would first believe it, and second of all, I would make a shit ton more money.
Yeah, our business model.
I'm trying to explain the shit every time. You know that I'm one of the really, really few that actually tries to explain the shit. everybody is asking questions. Did you ever notice that? I know I've said that before, but people ask questions with very fancy words. Me, I'm trying to actually answer them.
Or ask a question in a way that's meant to stump you as the audience and make you feel stupid so that you hang on so that they can keep...
Or give you enough time that you kind of feel smart. Not as smart as I am, but you feel smart. So now we're in a club when we both feel smart. Yeah.
All right. DOMS could be a safety function. Oh, no. What we got here? We're not worried about blood, spinal cord barrier.
Yeah.
Okay. DOMS could be a safety function in repetitive eccentric contractions as it resolves when the micro-injury of the muscle spindle, afferent sensory, and motor neuron nerve endings are regenerated. So, when basically the neurological ability to provide tension. Right?
And what they mean also is like when soreness goes away, that means you're ready to kick ass again. Yeah. So it's a way of telling your body like we're not done. Otherwise, you can create nerve damage at the nerve damage at the muscle spindle, which is like ow, like when you go like this, it's like I can't move anymore. It's not a physical, it's a physical thing, but it's it would be a nervous system thing.
Yeah, it's not a mechanical thing.
Yeah, it's not a mechanical
thing. That's the thing I was saying. So we've run into this often. We talk about the body. People always run it by chemistry. And the thing
or mechanical, exactly.
Just chemistry general in the body with nutrition, I guess, stuff. But when we talk movement, I see a lot of things get hung up on the mechanics. It's a muscle. This doesn't do this, and it's like
because the side delt.
Why?
I mean, I'm like, but no,
So there's more than just mechanics to it.
Actually, mechanic is number 2 to the nervous system, which is something I've been trying to say for so long. Is nervous system is 1. Remember all the shit I got for saying about the OPEC stuff? That nervous system is 1, energy second is second. Energy systems are second. Yeah, this is all the same shit I've been saying forever. It's nervous system is first. And the mechanical, chemical, all that stuff is second. Energy system are after the nervous system. The nervous system decides everything.
And this one here, finally, we suspect that DOMS could play an important role in ontogenesis by triggering muscle growth and adapting the nervous system in the growth process.
So ontogenesis, what I mean by that is evolutionary process. It's an evolutionary process. What they mean by that is that the DOM themselves, so that compression of the nerves and then the whole thing might be necessary for muscle growth. So do they mean just fucking up the muscle but not feeling the pain? Like that's where I'm like, I don't know for sure. I have to experiment. Because what they mean by that, it means not DOMS initiation. That doesn't mean you feel it. That just means we initiate it. That means that there's two ways to
do the work.
You could do as long as you were to create the eccentric, so the compression of the muscle, of the nerve, and how do I say that simply? The compression of the nerve endings on the muscle, right? As long as you create that compression, that would be enough to tell the nervous system that growth is required, right? As long as there's initiation of that work, the eccentric. Now, what if I'd initiated that work, but through the internal torque, the cyclical work after, I could negate the pain in that sense by having...
Without negating the work.
Right.
Theory.
That's where I don't know.
But that's where we're unsure.
That's where I'm not sure.
Yeah. So that'll be some playground stuff we'll be probably doing.
Right. So, because we talked about that early in the podcast, my guess is you might need the soreness, although I don't know. That's a guess. Honestly, I'm very unsure about that aspect.
There's a part of me that believes there's always a price to be paid. So, in my opinion,
but maybe that's
you gotta feel it. Maybe it's just in the
maybe it's my Christian education, though. Maybe because that sounds like a very Catholic thing to think that you need to be in pain.
That is true.
In order to progress.
Maybe.
So I don't know if it's. I don't know.
I only view it as sometimes there needs to be some sort of barrier, or else everybody would get it too easily. That's the way I always look at it.
Right, but one thing is for sure is you're gonna have to get that super compression, right, happening on the nerve part. So that means that eccentric super contraction is necessary to induce growth. So no matter what, pure cyclical work where you're not pushing on the eccentric part will not create the muscle growth. And he goes past that because he goes toward the osteocalcin, and that requires the weight, the compression on the bones to work. So at the end, maybe that the soreness in the sense of that pain with muscle breakdown, even me, I say it, the pain associated with soreness, is that necessary to feel or not? That's the question. What is necessary, no matter what, is going to be that super compression thing on the, on the nerve endings, on the muscle spindle and everything. That one is necessary no matter what. The only question is, do I need to experience the pain that comes after in the muscle? That one I'm not sure about. There was something. Oh yeah, right. And so when we look at that also explains to you why the neoprene makes you sore.
Yeah.
Right. So everything that we said, if you look at the neoprene, what happens is what you get with neoprene, you put it on. The muscles that were in freeze start to get very warm. That's non-nociceptive fibers start to activate. So we are a muscle that did not want to, there's a rabbit hole there, to not want to work. By the way, you cannot, so parasympathetic, sympathetic, ET, IT, right?
Yep.
In external torque, you cannot squeeze the external torque muscle without squeezing the internal torque muscle first, right? So what do I mean by that? Try to squeeze the outside head of your bicep. Unless you apply pressure, you cannot do it. What you'll have to do is you'll have to squeeze the inside head of the bicep, and then you can go toward the outside head. It works for the hammies as well. I can't squeeze the outside head of the hammy first. I have to squeeze the inside head, and then I can squeeze the outside head. Unless I'm pulling on something, I would have to squeeze the inside head before the outside head. So that means that I need internal torque to engage external torque. So does that mean I need nociceptive fibers to come first, parasympathetic, before I can go into nociceptive fibers? What we saw with the neoprene is you put it on, muscle get warm, and then they start working. Like past. And so, by the way, because you make them work, the exercise becomes novel in that sense for that muscle.
Yeah.
So that's where, and by the way, the external compression of the neoprene creates a stronger sympathetic tone, which is exactly what we talked about. So the nociceptive, like that super compression on the muscle spinal creates a greater sympathetic tone in the muscle, which is the whole point of soreness. So we also created a higher sympathetic tone through the external compression with the neoprene.
And we find too, though, that as because those muscles that are essentially haven't been working for you lately, as they do get started, that is going to be this rise up in parasympathetic activity.
Right. But then sympathetic.
But then we go to the other level. What I find, and you've mentioned before too, is those muscles that you have that have been giving you some trouble in the neoprene sessions, they will just fucking then light up.
Exactly.
At some point.
Yep.
Where you're like, oh,
and so now
shit.
we're going into, and that's why they're so sore, because we created a greater sympathetic tone within those muscles.
Yeah.
And so sympathetic tone within those muscles from the super compression of the exercise, the eccentric part, but also from the neoprene that forces a sympathetic tone, but this time through the skin and everything. So that's why the neoprene makes you sore.
Yeah,
it's a nervous system thing.
I've been using my wife's knee sleeves, because mine are a little too big, but up on just my upper arm, basically, with my neoprene jacket and stuff. And holy shit, is that a change on my bicep game? As far as like what just doing some biceps feels like, it is fucking torture.
Yeah.
Like it is like doing like with that amount of compression, that amount of heat. I've never felt that. And it's what's funny is because I always would pop my bicep. I had partial tears in my bicep from lifting Atlas stones in competitions because I was never really using them.
Exactly. And biceps, something from
but what I feel when I go with the neoprene, especially focusing on my bicep, is just that is the pain is worse.
Yeah.
But for me, pain means connection. For me, I've been trying to find them to use them in training for a long time.
Because that's what it means. It means without that, you're not gonna get the growth. So maybe like by not finding that super compression, you never elicited from a nervous system perspective. That's why maybe you can do all the work and never grow. Like something with my biceps, they have never grown up until the neoprene, because no matter what work I was doing, the nervous system was not getting the lesson. And going the neoprene increased the sympathetic tone to the level where the nervous system is like, oh, that muscle. And then it starts going.
Yeah.
And that's why we saw like same thing. My upper left pec started to get very warm with the neoprene and all that stuff.
Yeah, and I think because one of the reasons it's so effective at getting those muscles bigger and just more useful as far as like bringing up those imbalances is that it is so fucking uncomfortable. It's such a novel stimulus too, because the muscle's been in freeze, that the adaptation gap is very wide. And your body starts covering that ground pretty quickly. It's almost like getting newbie gains. But in just this teeny little muscle. So it does not take as much time as you would think.
Remember the S-allele versus L-allele? S-allele is always in a sympathetic state. higher and goes toward more parasympathetic state. So that means that the neoprene allows you to increase the sympathetic tone. That would have to be taken in consideration. Because what it means is that the neoprene will make you crash completely. A person with an LLL will probably be able to sustain the neoprene way more and go higher and higher neoprene, whereas the SLL will crash down. So you have to be careful if you're on SLL with the neoprene. That's why I use it only once or twice a week.
Yeah.
Because it crashes me otherwise.
Yeah.
Because it's too much. The sympathetic tone. I
get greedy.
If I'm an SLL,
yeah, it fucking seems to work. So I get greedy. I'll go 3. I've been off. I haven't been doing neoprene but once a week since we moved over here. But before it was anytime I kind of could in the global gym because it was like limited time. Right.
But remember, anytime you go to sympathetic, if you're on SLL, your nature will take you back to parasympathetic. Yeah. So there would have to be, there's a fine space to find.
I can tell you this, is there's a lot of moments near the last 5 to 10 minutes of my training sessions in a global gym in the neoprene where I go, cut this fucking thing off of me. I don't just, I'm going to close my eyes and lay on the fucking floor.
Yeah, exactly. So it's an interest, all this paints a way to look at the whole body differently, which if we could nail that down to a good system, like we could actually do quite a lot with that. But I think those are the intricacies of training, why it works for some people and not others. It comes down to the nervous system. And your nervous system is, for example, like the S or LLL of the 5-HTT-LPR is a part of that because it's genetically speaking, it shows you how you deal with specific stimulus. So it comes down to the nervous system. So this is how we have to look at training, is based on the nervous system.
Plus, that's the operating system. That's the rules with which you're working on. That's no question. Let go of the phone, it drops. Like there's just the way things work.
That's just the way things
work.
work.
So we can fucking come up with other plans that work, some work don't, or we can work with it.
No, and then the key also is we have to understand that this is a long run game. So that if you can, just because you found a trick to force your body to do what you want in that training session, does not mean that's a good idea.
Yeah. Well, kind of like your thing with the cyclical. It's like finishing with cyclical every single time. We don't know if you need that pain or not, right? So let's not just avoid soreness because you might have to feel it.
Right. And so let's not do just cyclical work then.
Yeah.
Because people are going to be like, as long as I do cyclical work, I don't feel soreness, I'm fine. Well, no, because now you're never going to make progress.
So it's like, why are you training?
Why are you training? Like that might not be the point at all, right? Yeah. So no matter what, you're going to have to create the DOMs, whether or not you feel the pain of it is a question. But the DOMs, that means the soreness you have to create. You have to create that supra-compression. Yeah. There's no question about that. The only question is, do you need to feel the pain or not? Knowing people, I'll say yes, because otherwise you're all going to avoid it.
Yeah.
And then you won't train that hard and say, I'm not feeling sore, I'm fine. So because you'll take my words and turn them into a certain way where you go, I don't feel sore, therefore I'm fine, which is not what I said at all. So my guess is go feel sore. Yeah. So actually Travis would text me that because there's a video where I told someone to do lat pull downs until they get sore. If you can't find a muscle, there's an indication, right? Make them sore. That'll tell you how you should train them.
Yeah.
Can't find your biceps. What I found me is I take an empty barbell and I do 2 minutes of curls non-stop. And this is the only time I get sore into the short head of the bicep.
Yeah.
Everything else is I go excellent torque.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting as a wife. So I've been doing my accessory work. We've talked in the past where I set a timer 1 minute, 2 minute per exercise and just throw the fucking as much pain into the muscles I can find in that amount of time. Why any of that was effective, I don't really know. I only did it because it fucking hurt a lot and it made sure I wasn't a pussy.
That's why, exactly.
I wasn't going to bitch out on my training doing 5 sets of 5 with a lot of rest or 5 sets of 10 with dumbbells. This way it was like, well, every accessory lift that I'm doing is going to maximize the amount of discomfort and variation I'm throwing at it. So the stimulus was new and painful every fucking moment.
Back to remember the right anterior insular.
Yeah.
Blood pressure goes up. Pain goes up, and the core temperature, that's exactly what you felt while you trained. Yeah. So we're going back every time to the same point. Yeah. It's your operating system that matters.
Yeah.
Right? Stop looking at the body like that, like it's a car where you can just change the tire, or that tire is not working, let me put a new one or stuff like that. It's not that. It's a computer and it's running on Mac, not Windows.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I think that's got us for today.
I think that was a very good one.
Awesome.
Yep.
Well, you're seeing these at a higher frequency now because Julien just finally got to me. But you'll get them
Not
when you
in
get
the
them.
coronavirus.
You'll get them when you get them.
Oh, I should not say that. We're going to get demonetized again.
I'm gonna go walk. I think approximately 800 meters to the car, wherever the fuck that may be.
Yeah.
I'm done driving in the city, but I'm hoping it's a ghost town getting out of here.
I'm pretty sure.
So that'll do it. StrongFit.com, StrongFitEquipment.com for sandbags, shirts, apparel. None of us are wearing our certified StrongFit gear.
That's true, yeah.
By the way, if you're ever doing a podcast, the best thing you can do, wear your own branded shit on the
Yes,
thing.
that would be a good idea.
Because at some point, like, if you have a lot of audience, people will be like, well, I'll pay you to wear our shirt. It's like, well, I should just wear my shirt. So then
Yeah,
So
exactly.
we're not very good at self-promoting.
Nah, we could do better.
Support the podcast at podcast.strongfit.com. We have the Julien's training template, the functional integration training template is out there. We also have Julien's one-on-one nutrition and one-on-one training coaching. You can also consolidate those together. Those will all be able to be found in the links below. Also at the link tree on StrongFit1 on Instagram. I think I actually technically have the same link tree on mine at Tyler F. and Stone on Instagram.
There you go.
I don't have a website, but
yeah.
I don't know what else did we have to get out. I don't know what else are we promoting.
We're
good. We'll see you in a few
twice
days.
a week, exactly. We'll see you in a few days.
All right, I'll have a good night. See you later.